So welcome all to third week of Learning Analytics Tools course. I hope I'm audible and my screen is visible.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay, great. Let me open the chat window. Okay, great. So without waiting further, let's start with the today's session. Actually, I'm not well, so I have not prepared very well for today's session. So pardon me if my PPT is not up to the mark or if I make some mistakes while talking. I'm not really in best of my health. Okay, so I will not go through these pointers again. Since this is third week, you all know me and you all know about my background. So I will not spend much time on to giving you details about me or my background. Okay, so so to so this week the focus of the lectures was on different machine learning techniques and supervised unsupervised machine learnings, and then a few matrices, performance matrices were discussed in the lectures. This could be little overwhelming for people who are not really well versed with statistics or maths background, but anyways, these are just introduced you to so that we can make informed decisions about which machine learning algorithms to use, and which to discard, which are better than the other machine learning algorithms. So don't worry if you feel overwhelmed. We'll try to understand the formulae and we'll try to apply them. Okay, so before we delve into that, I would like to mention briefly about what the pipeline of machine learning is and what are the different steps we need to follow when we are using machine learning techniques in our work. Yeah? So last week we saw what was the pipeline for learning analytics projects. When we want to use learning analytics for our research work, what are different steps to follow. So in that there was a machine learning wala step also. So this week we will focusing on that machine learning step. No, so when we intend to use machine learning for our research purposes or for any other matter, like, then first we need to have the data collected and pre-processing. So we learned about data pre-processing in last week, uh, how to generate different features from the existing data, and how to handle the missing data and all those things. So once we have the data and the features generated with us, then we need to choose the model or the machine learning model or the algorithm which we want to follow. Then we need to divide our data set into two parts. One we will use for testing and one we will use for training. So training data set and testing data set. Then oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, as I mentioned, there are just three steps. We found one mistake in the PPT which I made. So this was the last week's steps, like pre-processing the data, applying the analytics, and inferring the results. My bad, I did not pay attention to this page. So please ignore the second 1, 2, 3. It is just the first three 1, 2, 3 which we want to focus on. The training and testing. Once we have done the testing, then we know about the performance of our machine learning algorithm. Yeah, so how do we measure the performance on machine learning algorithms? So there are more than three matrices, but these three will be calculated using this table which I have over here. Like what this is called confusion matrix. No, that's what I'm telling Vishnuji, that I'm not well, and I have not, I may have made some mistake in preparing the PPTs. So these three were from the last week's presentation. So what I do is I edit the existing presentation and make changes onto that thing. So this was there in our last week's discussion. So by mistake I kept it. Instead of deleting it, I just added a new thing and kept the previous points also. So that's why this thing, the analytics, is not part of testing our model or anything. This is not related. Sorry for confusion. It is just the machine learning has these three important steps. We will collect the data, we'll do the pre-processing, we will use the machine learning algorithms and models, and we will validate our machine learning model by training that and by testing that. Okay, yeah, so sorry for confusion again. Yeah, so these are the three metrics which we will be using in our assignments also: accuracy, precision, and recall. So I have tried to include their meanings into simple words. What is the accuracy of any ML algorithm? So we use ML algorithms. So generally, when we are talking about, for sake of simplicity, it is all we will be talking about the binary classification algorithm. So 0 and 1, the two classes we will be talking about for ease of understanding. So whenever, from now onwards, whenever I am talking about prediction algorithm, it is either true or false. Just two things, two: probability of correct prediction and probability of false prediction. That's it. Yeah. So if the true value is 1 and our algorithm is predicting as 1, that means it is the value, the number of true values, and they are correctly predicted as 1, will be called as true positive. And if the true value is 1 and it is wrongly predicted by our algorithm as 0, then it is, as the name suggests, false positive. And similarly, if the actual value, the true value, is 0 and it is predicted as 1, then it is false negative. And if it is 0, correctly predicted as 0, then true negative. Okay, so this thing is called confusion matrix. Very aptly named, because it is very confusing to understand. So I don't know what was the logic behind naming of this matrix as confusion matrix, but it is it is called confusion matrix. So very aptly named. So so when we say accuracy of any ML algorithm, it is what proportion of the predictions are correct. That means which are 1, they are predicted as 1, and which the values which are 0, predicted as 0. So that means 1 1 true positive plus true negative, like 0 and 0 are true negative. So true positives plus true negatives divided by total sample size. What is the N, the large N? We will divide that the true number of true positives plus number of true negatives divided by total sample size will give us accuracy of our ML algorithm. So now coming to what is precision of our ML algorithm. Of all the instances predicted as positive or predicted as 1, how many are actually positive or how many are actually 1, right? So so that means 1 and 1 true positive, right? The values, instances which are actually positive and predicted as positive. So number of true positives divided by how many were actually the predicted positive divided by actual positive. So actual positive number is true positive plus false positive, right? This column. So true positives plus false positives. So that is the formula for precision. Yeah? So now I will take the chat box comment. I read somewhere as it shows how much ML model is confused in actual versus prediction. So name is confusion matrix is absolutely correct. So it is about what ML model is predicting and what is the actual reality, the actual value or true values. So that means what is the correctness of prediction of the ML algorithm, and the best way to mathematically represent the same information is in the form of matrix. So that's why the matrix is chosen as the way to represent these numbers, and based on these numbers all these parameters are calculated. Okay? Now coming to recall value. So as precision says, how many instances are predicted as positive out of the actual positive. So recall is how many of the out of all the positive instances, how many are correctly represented as positives, right? So as the this definition suggests, the recall formula is number of true positives, how many are actually positive, and the actual positive instances is true positives, divided by out of how many correctly predicted positive. So correctly predicted positive is this row, number of true positives plus number of false negatives. right? So this is the precision. So one way to remember precision is not precision, recall. So one way to remember recall is, out of all the positive instances, how many are correctly predicted. Yeah? So prediction number of correct predictions will be in the denominator, and correctly predicted will be in the numerator. Similarly, precision is of true values. How many positive, out of all the positive values, how many are correctly predicted. So that is the precision and recall. So another way to remember is recalling is how our ML algorithm is recalling the labels correctly. No? So that's why it is considered out of predicted value. How to mug up, I don't know how to mug up, so that's why I'm giving you these hints while talking, how to remember what is precision and how to remember what is recall. So I hope these questions which I am giving will help you in remembering, so how accurately you do anything. So it is very simple. What does accuracy mean? How accurately our ML algorithm is performing, so that this accuracy is easy to remember. How accurate something is what is the true positive, what is the absolute performance of our ML algorithm. Number of true positives plus number of true negatives, how much they are correctly predicting, divided by total number of sample size. Yeah, so accuracy, no confusion, you should be able to remember. So now precision is जितने सारे positives है जो actually positive है, उसमें से how many are getting correctly predicted. Yeah, that is the precision. How precisely your ML algorithm is performing, right? So that is the precision. And then recall is, out of all the predicted values, how many are recalled from the actual labels of ML algorithm, the training labels, how many are actually recalled correctly. So everywhere we are considering the true positives. Yeah, so true positives out of prediction is recall, and true positives out of actual positives is precision. Yeah. So I have one more comment. If chart is given, how to calculate predicted value from chart. Predicted value, as in, I did not get how to calculate predicted values. Shreya, can you unmute and ask your question? I did not get your query from the chat box.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I want to know that, like, whenever I am just solving the questions from the assignment, so at first the values are given in the chart, and I have to calculate the predicted value. Whatever now you are just telling us, like how we have to calculate, and after that we have to calculate the accuracy as per the question, precision, and recall. So, ma'am, I can't understand like how they are just given and how they are just making this chart, because
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
whenever we are just solving this problem, so we have to make this chart first, and after that we have to solve the problems.
Okay. So that you will get once we start solving the problems, but simple way to do it, that will come later on also. But before that, I'd like to tell you, see, this whole thing is predicted value, right? Our ML algorithm is predicting 1 as 1 and 0 as 0. वो इधर आ जाएगा, like this is the actual value. So this is like prediction का 1 का total value, and this is prediction ka 0 ka total value. So it is like when, okay, the last problem of previous year's question paper is where the data is given and we have to come up with our own confusion matrix. So I think when we'll go there, you will understand it. Now if I tell you in terms of true values and false values, like true positive, true negatives, you will get confused. So once we'll go to the question 10, you will be more clearer about how to backtrack from this confusion metric to the actual numbers in the data, or vice versa. Okay, so hold on to that thought till we reach to question 10. Okay, I'll move on to the next query. Why do we choose only positive in precision? Can we use same formula for negatives? So obviously when we want to calculate our performance, we want to see how many of the positives we want to predict correctly as positive. That's why the positives are chosen in this thing. So in medical sciences, false I mean, yeah, whenever prediction कोई भी होता है या diagnosis कोई भी होता है, the first thing comes into our mind is medical sciences. So in medical sciences, the जब तक आपका कोई एलिमेंट हो वो आप पॉजिटिवली या करेक्टली प्रेडिक्ट नहीं करते हो. whenever you have some element and when we are to predict it as correct, only then it has some value. Okay, so if we always consider it as जो भी positive values है, only that has more weightage to classifying negative correctly as negative. Okay, so that's why in all the formula we use only the true positives. So whenever we want to calculate accuracy, we will use only the true positive in the formulas. So but based on our requirement, like what is the prediction requirement, we will choose which of these matrices we want to select as true positives or as our performance metrics, right? So that depends on what is our end game, like what we want to predict, whether we want to predict positives or whether we want to predict negatives, right? So there are n numbers of parameters. These are just 3. There are 2 more, like kappa values and F score. So all these things matter when we calculate, like the false positive rate, false negative rate. All these things also matter, like ROC curve. All these things also matter. So depending on what is the end goal for our algorithm, we will choose which metrics to consider. Like every number will give us different value. So how to choose which value, how to select which value, so that will always depend on our what is our goal of using that ML algorithm, right? So if we know 3, accuracy, precision, recall, is this sufficient? So sometimes it is not sufficient, sometimes F score is considered. So as you can see, it is all matter of 0 and 1, right? So if there are 2 classes, the binary class algorithm we are having, one class is 0, one class is 1, and we are considering that. But what if our data is not 50-50 in 0 and 1? So this whole confusion matrix becomes imbalance. In that case, only these 3 matrices will not give us the complete idea about the performance, right? So whenever we have imbalanced data set का क्या मतलब होता है? So when we have the number of classes in our ML algorithm, they don't have sufficient data in both the classes, like equal amount of labels, they labeled the data in supervised learning. So in that case, this will not give us the actual performance of our ML algorithm, क्योंकि उसको training में ही data was not balanced. The all-round data was not given to that algorithm for training. So in that biased training data set, they will not be, agar number of zeros is more in our training data set than the number of ones, then obviously number of true positives will be low compared to number of true negatives and false negatives in our algorithm. So all these values, accuracy, precision, and recall, will not be will not be good, right? Even though our algorithm is performing good, these values will not be good because the number of true positives is small. So in that case, we turn to different algorithms. So one of such algorithm is F score, where we consider both precision and recall, and when we give both precision and recall the equal weightage. So this is the formula for F score. So thank you Vishnu Tiwari ji for bringing this up, and VN Balaji for bringing this up, so that we could organically go to use of F score when we want to give weightage to both precision and recall equally. Yeah? So kappa score is something different. Kappa score is generally used for inter-rater agreement. So what does inter-rater agreement means? So whenever so in this thing also, so inter-rater agreement is you remember we had spoken about in week 1, we had spoken about manually observing something and noting it down, right? So when you're more than 2 people manually observing, or 2 people manually observing something and noting down, there are bound to happen some differences. What I think is actually happening, you may not think that is actually happening. So even though there are 2 labels, 0 and 1, what I would label as 0, you might not label as 0. So again, the same confusion metric जो यहाँ पे थी 0 and 1, that way repeat, but instant it will be actual values and predicted values. Instead of that, it will be rater 1 value and rater 2 values, you know. So rater 1 1, rater 1 0, rater 2 1, and rater 1 0. So this matrix will also be confusion matrix, right? So based on this confusion matrix for two raters observation, so यहाँ पे so kappa can be calculated for observations by two raters and observations and by algorithms and actual, like ML algorithm, and what are the actual value also. Yeah, so these are very similar. So kappa is used for inter-rater agreement also, and ML iska performance also, right? So I have couple of questions in chat box. I'm gonna read them out. Meaning of F score high and F score means what? Okay, so yeah, it's very difficult to tell you what is the meaning of F score and this thing. I suggest you please go on to watch videos of week 3. In videos, sir has explained very nicely what is F score and how it is to give weightage to both precision and recall, and what are the implications of high F score and low F score. So all these doubts will be solved if you go back and watch because sir is explaining with example. To cover that in this short live session will be little difficult. So I'm sorry to not cover. I'm sorry I'm not covering it right now, but yeah, I would suggest please go back and watch the videos. It will, because this week and the next week, I will request you all to please watch the videos beforehand before coming to this session, because it will be really difficult to cover everything in this 1 hour, 1.5 hours ka session, you know. And if I keep on explaining F score, we will be spending entire session in this only, so I'm so sorry. But I'm taking up another this thing. It is why it is always two raters. So it is always calculated, it is comparison between raters. So even if there are more than two raters, we always compare rater 1, rater 2, and rater 2, rater 3, rater 1, rater 3, like that, you know. So comparison is not 1 versus all, it is 1 versus 1. So that's why in this formula or this confusion matrix, we have the observations by two raters. So if there are more than two raters, we will prepare confusion matrix for set of two raters. Like if there are three raters, R1, R2, R3, then we will prepare confusion matrix for R1, R2. We'll prepare confusion matrix for R2, R3. We will prepare confusion matrix for R1, R3. So it is not like there are only two raters always, but it is for sake of calculation, for sake of comparison, we will be comparing two raters at a time. So don't think that there are always two raters, but for comparison we are comparing two raters at a time. In last session also, so Srinanda, in last session also we did this revision first and then moved on to the questions. So because it is always easier to have some idea what we are jumping into rather than directly jumping into this thing. But this year the theory part is but this week the theory part is really it's if you have not gone through the lectures, it is difficult to grasp, you know. So that's why I'm spending more time on this part. Yeah, so to conclude on conclude on kappa formula. So P0 is observed probability of agreement. PE is expected probability of agreement of both the raters. Yeah, it's quite draining, and you can imagine my nose is blocked, my throat is hurting, I'm feverish, and this tough, difficult topic comes this week only. I'm feeling really bad. So if times permit, we will have another session when I'm in good health. I'll try to explain all these terms again. You know, if I'm confusing today, then I apologize in advance. Yeah, I'm gonna move on to next topic. Another difficult to grasp topic is ROC. Yeah, so as someone suggested, why we consider only the true positive value all the time, and that may not give us the correct matrices all the time. So there are different other matrices. So ROC is one of them. So ROC is also calculated as area under curve for a graph, where on y-axis we plot the true positive rate, and on x-axis we plot the false positive rate. So in this sense we are considering both the correctly predicted positive values and the correctly predicted negative values, and we are considering both the all-round performance of our ML algorithm to calculate the area under this curve, which will be known as ROC. So true positive rate is also known as sensitivity, and false positive is 1 minus specificity. Yeah, so specificity can be again asked in terms of exam questions or assignment questions, or what is the false positive rate, or what is the true positive rate, or what is the sensitivity of particular algorithm. So for that we will be using this formula. Yeah, so we will be coming back to these formulas, so that's why I am listing these formulas before we jump into assignment. So what I want to do is, let us finish the I think I'm done with this theory, and we will be moving on to questions. So so that I have some rest to my throat, what I'm going to do is, we will skip the mathematical calculation questions. We'll come back to mathematical questions at the end, and whatever the theory question is, we'll try to do that first. Okay, I will read the chat box. Okay, I should take rest. Okay, next session, hopefully I'll get better. So we need to know accuracy, precision, recall, sensitivity, specificity, F-score, kappa. Yes, if we know all these values, then we can make more informed decision about what is our focus. Whether we want to focus on true positive predictions of our ML algorithms, or true negatives predictions on our ML algorithm. So depending on that, we can make the well-round, well-informed decision. Yeah. And all these, and as you noticed, all these formulas will give us will have different weightage given to different thing. Like the the true positive rate will give more weightage to this true positives. Yeah, the false positive rate will give more weightage to false positive, and even the denominator is different, like the true positives and false negatives. Now false positives and true negatives, so together the true positive rate and false positive rate, if we consider these values together, it will give us the entire picture of the performance. So ROC is considered as better matrix in terms of both positive value prediction and negative value prediction. Yeah, so ROC is considered better compared to other values, compared to F-score or the precision, recall, and accuracy value, because even the F-score considers precision and recall. Yeah, so as in simple English, recall is of all positive values, how many are correctly predicted as positive, and prediction is out of all the instances predicted as positive, how many are actually positive, in reality positive. So here again, in both precision and recall, we are focusing on positive predictions, but whereas in ROC we are considering both the positive prediction as well as the false positive predictions. So ROC is considered as the better it gives the better idea about the performance of the matrix. Yeah, so this seems to be a non-mathematical, so let's jump on to this. Arrange the following processes of ML in the correct sequence according to their time of occurrence from the first step. So so please recall the 3 steps or the 4 steps which we saw in the beginning of today's session, the pipeline of the ML. So this question is based on what is the sequence of the pipeline of the ML. Yeah, so most of you are saying option A, 3, 1, 2, 4, option A. Yeah, so 3 is data collection and pre-processing. Of course, this goes first. Then choosing the model. Yes, we need to choose our model. Then we need to train our model, and then we need to test our model. Yeah? So this is the correct sequence: data collection and pre-processing. Then we choose the model, then we train the model, and then we test the model. Okay? So identify the following solutions which does not require ML. Yeah? So option A is personalized learning solution is required. I think this we discussed in session 1, that how ML is required and not required in personalized learning solutions. Then option 2 is problem with only 2 variables and 10 data instances. Problem 3 is rules that are difficult to extract. And D is learners' emotions need to be predicted. Yeah? So the question is, does not require. Does not require. So let us first see which of the problems will require machine learning. Yeah? A personalized learning solution
Option
is
B.
yeah, option B. So I see some of you have said option D, so that's why I'm going option by option. So I see more people agreeing on option B. So Shreya, you are saying option D. Can you unmute and tell me why you think option D will not require any machine learning algorithm? Or you can type in the chat box, whichever is easier for me. Shreya, you don't want to, or you don't know, you just said option D randomly. Okay, you're not sure. Okay, fine. So whenever we want to have personalized feedback or personalized adaptive content for the learner, then we need to use ML algorithm to predict learner's requirement beforehand, so that we can give the content accordingly. So that's why option E will require ML. It will require using some machine learning algorithm, because when there is no human tutor available, then we have to proactively predict the learner's requirement and modify our content accordingly. Yeah, so that's why option A will always require some kind of machine learning algorithm. Yeah. Now let's go back to option C, rules that are difficult to extract. So certain advanced machine learning like neural networks and CNN, all these things will be used to have to implement the rules which are difficult to extract or which are very complex in nature. For that we will require some advanced machine learning algorithms. And as we have had enough discussion in last week and last week, that predicting learners' emotion is really a very complicated problem, which may be involving more than one modality of the data, like multimodal, multi-channel data might be needed. So in that case, to predict the learner's emotion, we will have to make use of advanced machine learning algorithms like CNN and all such things to predict their emotions. Now coming to B, I'm reading a comment in the chat box that why B? I think because it can be done mathematically with already predicted and decided combination. This was absolutely my thought, Vishnuji, when I read option B, like problem with 2 variables and with just 10 data sets, we can use pen and paper or simple calculations to predict or decide whatever combination. We don't need complex machine learning algorithm. Yeah, so this was exactly even my thought when I thought about option B. So option B seems to be the correct answer. So I hope, Shreya, now you are convinced that option B is correct answer. Yeah? So let's move on to question 3. Okay, so we will come back to question 3 at the end, since it requires. So option C, rules which are difficult to extract. So whenever there is no, so let us consider example of option D. We have to predict learners' emotions based on their facial expressions. So there are different contextual rules involved in predicting somebody's emotions based on their facial expressions, right? So in India, how we react when we are frustrated, we will raise our eyebrows, we'll purse our lips, like what is happening. So this may be frustration for us, but this may be anger for European or American countries. For Hispanic people, this may be anger, like this may be anger, but for us this may be frustration, that why I'm not able to do this. So likewise, there are different rules involved, which are very context specific, which will not be universal in nature, which will hold true for India, may not hold true for other countries or other Asian countries like China or Japan. There, the way of showing emotions through facial expression is different, where the smiling will be sarcastic in some cultural aspects. When you are not able to do it, you'll be like. So this may be considered as smile in some of the cultural settings, but it will be seen as a sign of frustration in some contextual settings. So these are different rules which will be used to predict the emotions of a person or a learner through their facial expressions or through their actions. So these rules are very difficult to extract or difficult to implement. So in such way, how you will be using it using a simple computer program, how you will be asking your computer program to predict the emotions. There are n number of rules. There are some. So best way to do such things or best way to implement such complicated things is through advanced machine learning algorithms like neural networks, where there are multiple layers, where you can have even you can implement the rules which are not easily explained or easy to implement. So that's why we use machine learning algorithms for difficult to extract rules. Yeah. Question 3, we will come back. I'll note down somewhere that we have to come back to question 3. Yeah, so we'll move on and cover the theory portion. Okay, question 4 also, let me note down question 4. We'll come back. We will come back. We will solve it. Don't worry. Question 5 also. I just want to finish the theory part and then we can spend some time on the mathematics. Sorry. Okay, so which of the following algorithms are supervised algorithms? Yeah. So, I'm expecting answers from you. I'll take some break here out of talking. And here are more than one correct answer. So please type your answers in chat box or unmute and tell me which you think are supervised algorithms. So in supervised, we have to tell the machine learning algorithm that which we have to label the data beforehand, and we have to train our data based on the existing labels, and then we will test the unlabeled data for accuracy, right? So that is supervised algorithm. And in unsupervised algorithm, there is no labeling of the data involved. So computer will observe the distance between, computer as in the machine learning algorithm, they will observe the distance between the data sets, and they will club the and they will assign their own labels. They will create their own number of labels and they'll assign that labels to our data sets. So that is unsupervised learning, where we will not be telling the ML algorithm that this data belongs to this particular label or this particular group. Yeah. So most of you have answered BCD, which is the correct answer: random forest, naive Bayes, and decision tree. So all these are rule-based algorithms. So these things, so to develop the rule-based algorithm, rule-based as in there will be some bifurcation based on value of something. They will be dividing based on the value of features. They will be grouping our data sets into different things. Yeah. So all these classification algorithms are supervised learning algorithms, whereas k-means clustering is unsupervised. K-means will calculate the distance between the data points and then club the nearest data points into k number of clusters. So k-means is so it could be Euclidean distance or the distance between the features, the difference between the values of the features. So we are talking about absolute mathematics here. So yes, it is Euclidean distance. Yeah, so there are different ways to how we will come on to which number of k to consider and all. So there is a like every centroid, every cluster will have some mean value. So what is the distance between the mean value of each cluster? So we'll maintain some minimum distance between these two all these clusters, and then there is a elbow curve plotted of this mean value. So how many number of clusters we have, and then mean of each cluster and difference between mean of each cluster. So we don't need, like, just the one cluster or just the two clusters, and we don't need 100 clusters on n number of data, so n number of clusters bhi ho sakta hai. If we have 100 data points in our data, then we can have 100 clusters also, but that is also not a correct way to classify, right? So there are different methods to converge on the k number. We will plot that graph, and whenever the elbow is happening, that will give us the optimized number of clusters, that is k. So KNN, or k means clustering, is the unsupervised one. Okay, this is based on the kappa value, so please recall the or we will come back to it later on, or I don't know, let's do it, I'm not sure. ठीक है, चलो करते हैं ये. Two raters rate the engagement of the group of students in an aviation project, and following tables depict the observations made by them. So we have to calculate the kappa value for it. Yeah. So this, as far as I remember, these values are very close to what sir had discussed in his lectures also, like 40-20. This confusion matrix is what he has already done. So if you have watched the lecture, you already know the answer. That's why I have bolded the answer of this question. Yeah? So as we already have the formula in the chat box given by Vishnu Tiwari, so kappa is, I will write down the formula. Kappa is probability of like observed, the iterator, probability observed minus probability of expected, 1 minus probability of expected. So probability of this thing, like expected, how we will so observed is accuracy based on this, so it is PO is always accuracy, what is correctly like agreement between both the raters, the current agreement based on what is the total number of sample size, that is PO, observed. Now what is expected, right? So expected is what is the this thing, the positive wala the positive agreement wala probability, negative agreement wala probability, and we will add them. Yeah. So here let us calculate PO first, right? So PO is accuracy. So accuracies दोनों का agreement कहाँ कहाँ पे हो रहा है? So engaged and engaged 40, right, plus not engaged and not engaged वाला agreement. Rater 2 also says they are not engaged, and rater 1 also says they are not engaged. It is happening here, right? So 40 plus 30, let me write it nicely. 40 plus 30 based on the total number of what is the sample size. So total number of sample size was 40 plus 20 plus 10 plus 30, which is 100. Okay? So it gives us 0.7. Okay? Yeah. So P expected, what is the expected probability, right? So this thing sir has calculated in his video also, you know, how expected probability comes to picture. So expected for we will calculate it for both positive and negative wala thing, right? So expected sorry, I'm getting confused here how to calculate the expected wala thing, and all. Let me go back to the formulas and recall. Yeah, so true positive, false negative, false positive, and true negative. So this is the true positive and true negative. Okay, so let's
Madam, maximize your screen, madam.
sorry, I did not.
Screen is not maximized, madam.
It is maximized, sir. It is maximized because I'm sharing screen through my iPad, so it is always in maximize mode. I hope it is now visible. Who had the problem? It is visible.
Continue, madam. Continue, madam.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so we calculated PO. So let's come to PE. So false true negative and false positive. Writer 1 engaged. So this is so let us calculate for R2. So R2 says 60 divided by point 60. So 40 divided by 60 is 1.5. No, so this is 0.3 and 2. Is it 0.2? So होना चाहिए 0.5. I'm doing some mental calculations. Yeah, I'm
It's
just
correct, ma'am.
keeping on forgetting formula. Yeah, somebody has something to say.
It's correct, ma'am.
It is correct, right? Yeah, so
Yes,
we'll
ma'am,
add this
yes.
both and it will be 0.5, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
ठीक है. So we have this P0 as 0.7 and PE is 0.5. So let us calculate 0.7 minus 0.5 divided by 1 minus 0.5. So it will be 0.2 divided by 0.5, which will be 40% or 0.4, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So so this is how we will be doing. So I think PE is expected, which is easy to calculate. Just remember this: P0 is always the accuracy. What is the like both of them are agreeing onto it, and what is the this thing like observed out of them. Right? Okay. Move on to next question. For imbalanced data set, I think this we have discussed for imbalanced data set. So I think you can also tell me which metric is generally used for imbalanced data set. Right, F score.
F score, madam.
Yeah, F score.
F score.
F score, because we want to give weightage to both this thing, like the correctly like both negative predictions and the positive predictions. So that's why it is the F score for imbalanced data sets. So ROC is generally generated by plotting. So this also we have discussed. It may be confusing, so I'll give you some time to read out all the options. I have already told you how to plot the ROC. So ROC is the area under curve for the graph, where we will be plotting false positive rate on x-axis and TPR, that is true positive rate, on y-axis, and whatever the area under curve is the ROC. Yeah. So let us see which is giving our correct this thing, like true positive rate on y-axis and false positive rate on x-axis. So option A seems to be correct. Yeah. So we will calculate true positive and false positive rate, and we'll plot them, and we'll calculate the area under curve. Yes, I am recording this session and it will also be uploaded, and this is shared, the link will be shared with you via NPTEL, on the NPTEL SWAYAM portal. There is a tab for weekly problem solving sessions. From there you can check the links. Yeah, so this was the question 10 which I was talking about when Shreya asked about how to calculate how to translate data into confusion matrix and confusion matrix to data, right? Like Shreya, you had asked the questions in the beginning. So we have reached question 10. I will make the confusion matrix for this thing. So these are two columns, like even though I've written fail, this is like actual result followed by predicted result, right? So when we want to come up with confusion matrix, what we will do is actual values are on the column side and the predicted values are here. Predicted values. Okay, so pass and fail. Pass and fail. Okay, so now let us count the number of pass which are correctly predicted as pass. Okay, so it is like actual result followed by predicted result. ऐसे है, instead of 2 columns, by mistake I did not write it 2 columns, it is just 1 column, values followed. Okay, so pardon my this thing. So let us count the number of pass which are actual pass, I mean first value pass followed by pass as predicted value. So can you tell me how many, what number should I write here in this, like pass predicted as pass?
Pass is 4, ma'am.
4, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So here comes the number 4. Yeah, so I would prefer if Shreya unmutes and answers all these numbers, so that it will be clear for you. So you will be like learning by doing, you will be doing it yourself, right? So now you tell me how many of actual fail value are predicted as pass value. Okay, so how many fail are predicted as pass? So can you tell me how many fail predicted as pass, Shreya?
2.
Right, these two, 1 and 2. So F and 1 and 2, these. So 2. So how many pass predicted as fail? Yeah? How many pass predicted as fail? Shreya, can you, okay, you have already said 2. Yeah, 1 and 2. How many fail correctly predicted as fail? Shreya, how many fail predicted as fail now?
Ma'am, 2.
2, right? 1 and 2, these two. So you got to know how the total number of sample we wrote into these 4 different columns, right? So this one trick you remember, when you have to calculate n, that is the total sample size or total number of data points in your confusion matrix, you will add all these 4 values, right? And now here it is pass and fail. So as you recall, I had said it is 0 or 1, just 2 labels. So if pass is 1, our fail can be 0, right? So it is 1, 0. So there is no need to confuse between pass, fail and 0, 1, right? So now I'm sorry, yeah, now specificity we have to calculate. So let's go back to the formula, specificity ka formula. What is the, yeah, where did it go? Ha, 1 minus specificity first. So we have to calculate this thing. Yeah? So now let us recall our thing. 4 and other values had 2, 2, 2, right? This was our confusion matrix. This was the predicted and this was the actual. This is pass, fail, pass, fail. Yeah. So let us calculate the FPR. So FPR says number of false positives. So false positives are the false positives divided by false positives per plus true negatives, right? So number of false positives will be so true negatives is 2, false positive is negatives which are classified as positives. So negatives,
Ma'am,
classified as
0.5.
positives, 2. So 2 plus 2, 4 plus, sorry, yeah, it is 0.5, but then it is true. False positive is negatives which are classified as positives. So 2. So 2 divided by 4, which is 0.5. So specificity is 1 minus FPR, which is 1 minus 0.5, which is 0.5. Yeah. So the question is, sorry, so the option is, correct answer is 0.5. Where did we go? The last slide. Yeah. So this is the correct answer, 0.5. It is just so PE is not asked here what is the PE, but we can calculate PE. PE again will be what is the expected out of it, right? Expected thing is we have to calculate correctly classified positive this thing and correctly classified negative values. Both of them we have to add based on that. So here again it will be positive, positive and negative, negative. So it will be like something around 0.6 it will be PE, right? But need not worry. It is again, if you are confused, I may confuse because I'm not at my best choice of words, so I may confuse. If you are confused, please, I will request you all to please go back and watch the lectures. In lectures, sir have explained this thing rightly in least confusing manner, right? So we have calculated this thing. Okay, let us come back to question 5. So question 5, below confusion matrix, accuracy value we have to calculate. So you remember accuracy value का formula was which are correctly, like if you remember the what percentage out of the total sample size, what is the percentage of like what is not percentage, how many data points are correctly classified, right? So actual correct classification is actual value भी A है and predicted value is also A, so 20 plus actually it is not A and predicted is also not A, 20, based on the total number of sample size, which is 20 plus 10, 30, 30 plus 50 and 70. So which is 40 by 70, which is 4 by 7, which is roughly 57 point something कुछ आना चाहिए, right? 3 ones are 3 and 5s are, and then 5 remaining and 7.1 something कुछ आना चाहिए. Yeah, so percent wise में 57.17 ऐसे, तो roughly it is 57%. Yeah, all of you are with me. It is just, we are just applying the straightforward formula here. You know, I have listed the formulas for you in the beginning of this PPT. I will be sharing this PDF with you all, so you can come back and refer to this. So you will get all the formulas at one place. Yeah, that's why I have listed this in first, fifth slide, fourth slide onwards. Like third, fourth, and fifth slide is all formulas. Okay. Taking a few seconds break here. Okay, so it is very straightforward question. This is the confusion matrix given, and we have to calculate the recall value. So let us go back to understand what is the recall, right? So recall says out of all actual positive instances, how many are correctly predicted as positive, right? So कहाँ गया? Yeah, so this says how many positive are correctly predicted. So that means true positives. True positive is actually भी positive है and predicted भी positive है. Number of positive is 10. And then how many are true positive and positive है but falsely negative label किया गया है. So that is like the total number. So this is 10 plus false negatives, like false negatives which are positive but actually falsely negative, right? So actually 1 है but ये 1 है, so 3. So it is 10 divided by 13, which will be roughly 0.7 around, कुछ तो आएगा आना चाहिए. Yeah, 10 by 13 is, yeah, this should be the answer, 0.76. Yeah, roughly 7 या 767 ऐसे कुछ आना चाहिए, या 769. So this is the correct answer. So this is 10 and 3. So as you say, recall, how many are correctly recall actual positive values. So this column. So another way to remember is no. So false negative is not in second quadrant, Vishnuji. This is, so let us first understand what do we mean by false negative here. So false negative are the positive values which are falsely labeled as negatives, right? So when we say the result was false negative, मतलब क्या है कि actually positive था but falsely negative label हो चुका है. So try to understand the meaning of the word, you know, false negative. False negative is falsely negative, गलती से negative. गलती से negative हुआ मतलब actually it is positive. So actual value is 1, actual positive, but predicted as negative. So negative prediction is prediction 0, which is 3. So this quadrant will give us
can I
false
so
negative.
this is Vishnu side.
Yeah.
I just want to say the confusion matrix which you have shown,
Huh.
that was also kindred to what you are showing right now, right? And over there, also the true value was in the horizontal thing axis, and those predicted were in the vertical axis. So over there, when I see the first quadrant means like the left hand top quadrant says for true positive, where the predicted is also one and
Huh,
true
huh.
value is also one.
Right. Yes.
If I go for the false negative,
Huh.
the value was 0 and it is falsely predicted as 1, right? So they are saying it is false negative. That's why I was saying that why it is
No, no,
in,
no. So I think the confusion is with false negative. So simply false negative is falsely negative. So actually it is positive. So that means we will go to actual one wala column. Like this column will have all the actual positive wala. These two values will be what. So when we add these will be the actual positive values. Like the 13 will be actually positive from the real data set, like the real positive values, right? So उनमें से the positives which were wrongly labeled as negative will be false negative, right? You agree? False negative का meaning, like if you take the meaning of the word false negative, the values which are actually positive but falsely labeled as negative is false negative. So we will go for this column and this quadrant value 3. I hope
positive
I'm
and-
not confusing.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and true positive is true value positive predicted also as positive. True
Yeah,
negative.
The truths don't have any
Yeah, true doesn't
confusion.
any confusion, right? So this is actual negative, predicted negative. So this is
Yeah,
true
that's true
negative.
negative.
Yeah, and false positive is actually negative है वो. The value is actually negative, but it is labeled as 1. Yeah, so we will go to actual negative column. So this column, this quadrant, like 5 and 2 are actual negative values, but this 5 is the value which is actually negative but labeled positively. So it is falsely positively labeled. So this value 5 is actually 0 but predicted as 1 is false positive value.
Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Are you still confused? I can repeat it one
No,
more time.
I got it. Means false is representing the after false, whatever is written is representing the true nature.
Yes, that no, that's not the case. After false, what is written is not their true nature. True nature is opposite to that. Like false positive बोला है तो actually that data is negative, but prediction is positive. So we false positive और false negative में this positive और negative
Okay.
का मतलब है
Yeah.
prediction. Yeah.
The words itself are so delusional.
I can understand that how it is, but yeah, this is one trick to remember. When I say false, it is predicted falsely positive. So when I say FP, that means positive. False positive is positive prediction which is false in nature. So the actual value is true, positive, but it is falsely predictive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Okay. ठीक है, so let us move on. I think these things will be these things will be more clearer. I may be in confused state, so I will advise you to please go back to the lectures and see. I'm sorry. Yeah. So again, let us come back to question 3. I think question 3 seems to be last for this thing, right? So again, we have to calculate the precision value. Okay, so precision value will be again, let us check the precision ka this thing. Out of all instances predicted as positive, how many are actually positive? So positive prediction, true positive prediction divided by number of positive total number of positive predictions, right? So this will be like true positive, which is 5 divided by 5 plus 10, like the predicted this and this, 5 plus 10, which is 5 divided by 15, it should be 0.33. So it will not be 5 by 8. We will not be considering actual this thing. This will be recall wala formula. This will be recall value. If we divide 5 by 8, that will give us recall value. But we have to, precision is precision of the work which is performed by our ML algorithm, right? So there still seems to be some confusion between precision and recall. So recall is out of your data set how many are correctly recalled as positive. Yeah, उस तरीके से ध्यान में रखना. What is recall is out of all the data actual values. So that means in recall we will have the actual positive number, like actual wala ye values in the denominator, like 5 plus 3 by 5. So iska recall value will be 5 by 8. But when we called precision, so in precision we will be considering the performance of our algorithm. So performance में prediction, positive predictions कितने हैं. So out of all the positive predictions, how many are correctly classified? So number of positive predictions will be given by this row here, 5 plus 10, 5 plus 10. Out of these 10, 5 plus 10, 15. Out of these 15, how many are correctly classified? So actual भी 5 A है and predicted भी A है are just 5. So 5 divided by 5 plus 10 is the precision value. Right? So this is 0.33. So the correct answer is option A. Yeah. So it will not be 5 by 8. 5 by 8 will be recall value, but precision value will be 5 by 15. Is it clear now, the confusion between precision and recall? Yeah. It's once you get hang of it, once you practice it, it becomes more clear. Like it is like simple meaning of recall. Recall is when you remember something, when you try to recall something. So recall is compared with the actual values, and precision is the way we are doing it. That is precision. So in terms of ML algorithm, the precision will be based on its performance. That means it is actual prediction, and its recall is based on what is the actual data, what does our actual data say. So that's why in recall value, in recall formula we will consider, this is much clearer. In recall we will consider what is the actual positive, उसमें से how many are correctly recalled as positive, right? So 20 divided by 20 plus 20, 40. So this will be the recall value for this confusion matrix, right? And precision value is what is the performance of prediction, how many are positively predicted. So based on this confusion matrix, recall question number 10, how we came up with the confusion matrix, how we divided that our data set into confusion matrix. So total number of positive prediction by A are given by this row, right? So this is 20 plus 10, 30. 20 plus 10, 30. So इसके लिए precision will be 20 divided by 30. This will be precision and this will be recall, right? So 20 by 30 will be precision and recall will be 20 divided by 40. Yeah. So we understood precision, recall and accuracy, right? And you just have to remember different words, like what is the specificity and all those things. So for that purpose, what I have done is I will be sharing this PDF with you all. So पहले तो 3 slides are, you don't need to go through them absolutely, you don't need to go through them. Come to page 4. I have included those slides because I'm asked to include them by NPTEL people, that I should have those 3 information about me, my contact information in the first slides to be accessible for all of you. So from this slide onwards, it will be like quick notes for you. Yeah. So here it is a simple way to remember and simple way to have all the formulas listed. Yes, Vishnuji, you can unmute and ask questions if you, or concerns if you have any.
Ma'am, can you please check this matrix once again? I think means it is either having some
Some
discrepancy.
mistake.
Means,
Okay, I will check it again, and if there are problem, I will update the discussion
yeah,
forum.
okay.
I will update
This
this again for
very
you.
matrix, because when we were going to the slides, and I checked on means on internet also once more, and I found the false negative and false positive. They seem to be in the
Looks
diagonal.
like I have interchange false positive and false negative.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There could be, because yeah, I told you
Because
as well.
when we were going to questions, we were having similar kind of formation over there also, and it was confusing. So, and I checked online also, and I
Okay.
feel that okay, that could be the thing. You can check means.
Okay. So I'm making it again. So there could be. I will just again. Yeah, you seem to be
You can
correct.
check, and I think when you are sending the slides, uploading the slides before that, you can make it means it will be
Huh.
like the correct
Yeah,
person.
yeah, you're right. Now that I'm reading it again. Yeah. So this is, yeah, true positive is actually positive and predicted as positive, right? So this is actually negative but predicted as positive. So this should be false positive. Yeah, you're right. My bad, I'm sorry. But the formulas are correct, don't worry. Formulas are correct, because in formulas I generally don't make mistakes. So formulas should
No,
be
no, I
correct.
understand means obviously because the answer is also matching with.
Sorry. Yeah. So in formulas there is no mistake. Because I don't generally make mistake in formula, so here I might have written something. This is false negative. Thank you so much for pointing it out. I hope in calculations I have not done any mistake. The answers are matching for everyone, I think, yeah?
Yeah, they were matching.
That is correct, ma'am.
I'm so sorry for confusing, yeah. Yeah. So now I think, yeah, now there was this one thing which was, yeah, bad. Yeah. I got it, Vishnuji. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing the, this thing, yeah, the correct resources. Let me just check formulas once again. True positives, true negatives, and sample size. Yeah, that is correct. Precision is true positives and false positive. Correct, okay. Thank God, okay. Yeah, recall is for true positive, false negative. Yeah, now it seems correct, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Vishnuji, for pointing out the mistake. But now I think it is clear. I think when I was explaining it to you, I did not make that mistake. Let me check once again if I have written there correctly. On which question were we where at most? Yeah, false positive, false negative. Yeah. I think here I wrote it correctly, but in that, yeah, false positive and false negative. Yeah, but in the great confusion matrix which got confused everyone, including me, there I had made mistake. But this is correct, like true positive, false negative, false positive, and true negative. And now I have corrected this also. Yeah, I hope now you are not confused, and I'm so sorry for confusion. Yeah, so thank you so much for pointing out the big error. This happens when you're not well and you're preparing something under influence of painkillers. Yeah, so if there are any more discussion points or some more blunders which I would have made, we can discuss that. Or if there are any these points, because I think from my side I'm kind of done with the explanations. But if you have any confusion and any more things to be discussed, we can discuss quickly.
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question regarding the last assignment, assignment 2. Might be I can go in the end when everybody is done with the doubts of this current session.
Sure. Yeah. So if there are any questions or any more points to discuss, we can discuss now. So there are no doubts or no points to be discussed. So I think Bhavani ji, you can ask your doubts if you have the question.
Yes, ma'am. So this is one question, ma'am, like which in the last assignment week 2, so I had this question, and I remember I attended your session also for the week 2, and the question was, I'm not sure, ma'am, if you are able to access those assignment question. So I'll read it out just loudly.
sure,
So it is, the first question is like, what is or are true about technology enhanced open ending learning environments? So what about TEOLE? So there were 4 options, ma'am. So first option was technology acts as a scaffold. So and which is correct. Second, as shift the learning process from the student to teacher centric. So and the
from teacher to student centric, or from student to teacher centric, what was it?
second option was shift the learning process from student to teacher centric.
Acha, from student to, because I'm writing down so that from student to teacher centric, right?
Okay, so and the third option is shift the learning process from teacher to learner centric.
Okay, teacher to learner centric.
Okay, and the fourth option was, in Delhi, there is no support provided by the tutor at all.
Support by tutor. Okay.
No support provided by tutor at all. So, based on our understanding, ma'am, like at least I selected option A, technology access scaffold, and option 3, C, shift the learning process from teacher to learner centric. So I felt these both, but when the answer solution sheet was released, it seems they selected A and D, ma'am. So D is no support provided by tutor at all, which is not matching with even the lecture notes, ma'am. Sir, we refer to sir's lecture notes. It says it's not that there is no support at all. There will be some support provided by mentor or tutor in Delhi. That option seems not to be correct. So for but the solution is incorrect.
Okay. Yeah, so I will talk with TAs, so there might be some mistake in selecting the correct answers or reporting the correct answer, but I will like to tell you something about option D here. So generally what happens is, sometimes the meaning of open-ended learning environment is there is no fixed path for learners to take. Right, learners are supposed to explore, or learners are expected to explore the learning environment at their own accordance, right? So there we are shifting the entire learning process from teacher centric to student centric, and morely towards the content centric. The content is at the center, and learner is free to decide or free to choose his or her own learning path, right? So in that sense, tutor may or may not be present. It is not that there will not be absolutely no support, or there will be full support of teacher, or there will be no support of teacher. Yeah, so we can't be sure. So many of the times the such open-ended learning environments are used as supplementary material by teachers, so they could be there to provide the necessary support whenever required and wherever required. So it will not be like absolutely black or white. There is a lot of gray area there. So that's why there is this option D could be correct answer, so there is no support provided, because it is not it is not very fixed that there will be, the support will always be provided, or support will not always be provided. Yeah, so that's why there could be, the D answer could be selected as the correct answer. But I do agree with you that mostly they are expected, the use of open-ended learning environment is supposed to be supplementary or complementary to the classroom teaching by the tutors. So so this should not be the ideally should not be the correct answer.
Ma'am, I think this option D, I think Vishnuji posted it in the chat. It says in Delhi there is no support provided by the tutor at all.
At
So
all,
therefore,
yeah, at all,
so
yeah.
that makes it wrong, ma'am.
That makes it wrong, yeah. Yeah, as I said that it is
Madam,
not
in
like
the
black and
lecture
white.
also, when sir is delivering the lecture, he said that whenever the support is necessary by the
By the tutor will
he will provide.
Huh.
Likewise, he will
Right. You know, because as I said that use of these learning environment, like these tellies are not supposed to replace the physical teacher completely. You know, when such environments are expected to replace the teacher completely, there will not be any tutor there to provide support. But these OELEs are supposed to be used in addition to the classroom, you know, to improve the learning, to support the to improve the learning, to support the material as a supportive material by the teachers. So that's why we can't say that there is a black or white. There's a lot of gray area in between, that teacher may ask students that you go home and practice it and come back. So at that time when students are doing it at their home, doing it remotely, there may not be a teacher to support or tutor to support. But it is not at all the case of at all makes it, you know, clear black or white case. But whereas it is not black or white case, it is very much gray. Yeah. And option C is always correct, because we are shifting the learning process from teacher centric to learner centric by using these open-ended learning environments.
Okay.
So earlier what happened is, in the for the people who are born in the 90s or born in the 80s, the older generation, you know, for millennials, our teachers used to teach from the textbook, you know, we were dependent on them for all the materials to learn, right? So the content was what teacher brought, and the way teacher taught, we were totally dependent on them, because there was very limited material or limited means of access for us to, you know, go and explore new material. There were very few options. So it was all teacher centric. The entire process of teaching and learning was in hands of teachers. But nowadays the role of teachers is drastically changing. Now the teachers are pointing students to the resources, to the relevant resources. You know, there are n number of resources. The main focus of teacher is to not let the misconception happen, or to improve the learning outcomes, make the learning outcomes more this thing like no more to make all the students achieve their learning outcomes and all, right? So that focus is called shifting the learning process from teacher centric to more student centric, the more control in students. Students are now free to explore the content at their own accordance, not just from after chapter 1 you have to go to chapter 2. It is not like that. If they know chapter 1 and 2, they can go to chapter 3 directly. And you know, if they think that they need to do chapter 3 and come back to chapter 1 and 2, so this liberty is given in open-ended learning environments. So that's why that's what is meant by making things learner centric. So option C is definitely the correct answer. So I think I will take up these discrepancies with the current TAs, and if it is wrong, or if there are some mismatch between the correct answers and the actually marked answers, they will have your questions re-evaluated. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks. Ma'am, one more question regarding that same assignment 2, ma'am. So, question number 9. Let me see if I can also paste that so that it will be easy for you. And
yeah. So meanwhile, I have one question posted by Mr. Hardik in the chat box, and he has been raising hands for quite some time. So Hardik, you want to unmute and elaborate your question?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, you
are. So, ma'am, my question is regarding assignment 2, and specifically the question number 6. The question is, which of the following features can be extracted from the MOOC platform? And the 4 options are time spent on discussion forums, score in a video quizzes, number of videos watched, and average session time. Okay. So the last 2 are obviously the correct answers, number of videos watched, and average session time. But ma'am, on MOOC platform, is it possible to extract time spent on discussion forum and score in video quizzes?
Yes. So let me first tell you what is log data. So log data is when we say log data or clickstream data, for better understanding, let's say clickstream data. Yeah. So clickstream data is we are noting the number of clicks happening in that MOOC platform. So number of clicks may correspond to different actions. Like when I'm clicking on the button of discussion forum, that timestamp and that I have clicked on the discussion forum is getting captured, it's getting logged, right? And then I'm spending some time there, I'm typing or I'm scrolling down. Without typing, I'm scrolling down, and then I'm leaving that discussion forum and going back to the content. So in order to do that, I need to click on something else, right? I'm clicking on the course button. So I clicked on the course button on this particular timestamp, that will also be captured. So I can calculate the time spent in the discussion forum by subtracting the timestamp of these two clicks. So even though I did not type anything, even though I just scrolled through that discussion forum posts, the data, when I clicked on the discussion forum and when I clicked on something else, I left the discussion forum page, that click is noted, and the difference between the timestamps of those two clicks will give me the time I spent on that discussion forum page. So you got how the time spent in discussion forum is calculated, Hardik?
Yes, ma'am.
So it can be calculated. Now
yes.
Coming to score in in-video quizzes is so we can have different types of content. So have you heard about H5P content type?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Okay, so H5P, you can Google it. So H5P content, what it allows us different types of questions. Yeah, so one of the most widely used H5P content type is in-video questions, where we can use the YouTube videos and we can embed the question whenever we want. Suppose there is a 5 minute of video and we want a question at 2.5 minutes. So we can have our own questions with different options in that video, embedded in that video. So such questions are called, such quizzes are called in-video quizzes. And whatever options we are selecting in that quizzes, that are also captured in log data. Like, if that question, we A, B, C, D are the 4 options in that in-video question, and we selected option A and that is the correct answer. So that will also be captured in the backend as the part of log data. So we can so score in video quizzes and the time spent in discussion forum can be features generated based on that log data. So we can add the number of correct answers, or we can count the number of correct answers for that particular student for in video questions, and we can have their score for in video quiz. So these are the features which can be extracted based on the log data of that particular MOOC platform.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you so much. Ma'am, if you permit, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Ma'am, there is one question, week number 2 and question number 2. What information must be provided to participants before conducting research studies? So, ma'am, there is one option where will be the research be published. So I can understand that it is not required to be informed in all the cases, but I guess in some cases we may need to share the details about where we are going to publish the outcomes of the research.
Can you give example of in which special cases we need to tell participants about our outcomes, like where we intend to publish it?
For example, if we are doing some surveys and for their understanding, if they are going to ask us where exactly we are going to use this particular data, then we may need to, tell them that we are going to publish a research paper in this kind of reputed journals, or maybe like that, or we are going to file a patent, or like that.
Yeah, so such information, like whether you are going to file a patent or whether you are going to write a research paper, that we need to disclose. What we are going to do at the end with the with their data, right? That we need to disclose. But what if you say that I want to publish XYZ journal because it has high impact factor and it is very reputed in the field? You write a paper, you write the paper, you neatly do the analysis, everything is done, but your paper gets rejected. So you approach some other journal, right? If that XYZ journal has rejected your paper, you approach ABC journal with the same paper, and they may accept. So, but for your participants, you have told them that XYZ journal may ही I will be publishing your paper, the paper which I'll be writing based on your data. So such things are really, I mean, these are
Yes,
the
yes,
minute
yes.
details which may change in due course of time. But
Yes, I
the way
agree.
you're using the data, the way you're analyzing the data, that should not be changing, that should remain the constant. When you said that you will be using the survey data to create some prediction model or to do some statistical analysis, that will not change. But where you are publishing the results, that may change.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
So that's why that detailed information doesn't become relevant there. That may
Okay.
change there, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Madam, I have a question in question number 3, madam, in the same assignment. As a researcher, which of the following data will be collected in the classroom environment about student performance? I answered all the options. I answered. There is a wrong in, according to the key, there is a wrong in one answer, students extra co-curricular activity.
Yeah.
Is it wrong, madam, to collect the data of students extra co-curricular activity in a classroom?
So students extra, so that will depend on what is your hypothesis, what is your RQ. So generally, when we are talking about learning analytics project,
Okay, madam.
we generally keep our hypothesis or our RQs as our dependent and independent variable within the classroom setting or within the teacher's control, right? That's how that's how generally the experiments in education sector are carried out. So students, what they are doing in co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities, those are, so extracurricular is still part of school, but co-curricular, whether they are going to some tuition classes, what they are doing in tuition classes, that is really not as teachers or as a researcher, that is really not, that really shouldn't be our focus. So that's why what they are doing as a co-curricular activity, we might not be interested. Yeah, so it becomes again a very complicated and very what I can say, if as a third party you are conducting a research and it is part of not the learning analytics but academic analytics, then you may be interested about their co-curricular things,
Madam,
but at learning
according to the
analytics,
question, madam, as a researcher teacher, which of the following data will be collected in the classroom environment
so
about the
researcher
student
teacher, right?
performance?
Yeah, researcher
That can be
teacher and
also called as the performance only, madam.
performance only. But in performance, how their co-curricular activities are related to performance, sir? I did not understand how their co-curricular will be related to their performance.
Performance means not about academic performance. That is also, in my point of view, that is also performance of the
Yes,
students.
but here we are considering in learning analytics, when we mean performance, we are considering their marks, their performance in the
Yes, madam.
classroom,
Yes, I
which we
agree
can
with you,
capture.
madam. But read the question, madam. It is not mentioned as.
I don't have question in front of me, and now I can't even go because
Madam,
I'm
I will read
recording
the
the
question,
screen.
madam.
So yeah.
As researcher, teacher, which of the following data will be collected in a classroom environment about students' performance?
Yeah, about students'
It is not
performance, and you are
mentioned
researcher
as-
teacher, right? You are
Yes,
researcher
madam.
teacher. Okay, and what are the options?
Oh, I will post it in the.
Okay, yeah,
Yes,
that
it
would be
would-
great. Yeah, that would be great. I will read and yeah, that will be better. Because see, when you say you are researcher teacher, that means you are teaching, you yourself are teaching in that class, and you would be interested in evaluating in how effective your teaching is, right? So that's the first point I would like to make. And
Maybe-
in a classroom
Madam,
environment, in classroom, student.
Yes, madam.
Okay, can you please tell me what are students extra or co-curricular activity? What activities
Extra
will be part of?
co-curricular activity means dance, stage performance, and all. We can take it, madam.
Yeah, and
That means-
for that, do you have assignments? Do you have scores of or their course project, their dance performance, or their other activities? Will that be included?
That may In some institution that is also included, madam, to for providing their internal mark, that also they are also included that also.
Sir, you're again confusing this
Okay.
entire thing and making it really complicated. It is as
Okay,
simple. So
madam.
when we
Okay. Okay.
formulated the
Okay.
question, they would have meant
Yes, madam.
simply as you are teaching in a classroom, you are teaching a subject. They might not have considered that you are teaching some extracurricular or co-curricular activity like dance or arts or something. So this is so mainly when we talk about these things now, we consider university teacher or somebody teaching undergraduate course or postgraduate course. So in that setting, extracurricular and co-curricular activities are not really considered in their performance, right? For school, you're absolutely right. For school setting, this may be considered, their extracurricular or co-curricular activities, how well they're performing in arts, how well they're doing in sports, how well they're doing in dance. All these things will be considered. But when when this course is even being taught and the questions are being formulated, we don't consider school kids. We talk about, so even when I will be discussing, I will be considering undergraduate students. I will be rarely talking about school kids or so. Yeah, so that may be the reason that students extra or co-curricular activity will not have been included as the correct option.
Okay, madam. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, madam.
So
Ma'am, there is one request that because of such kind of minor detailing, many of the questions are, even if one option is not selected, the entire score is
Yeah.
0. So
Yeah.
if you could, reevaluate, I mean, and allot partial answers, then partial scores, then total score would be slightly higher. Because if one option is not selected, then entire score is 0 in some of the cases, and in some of the cases, partial score is given. So it's a request, and the same situation might be there with other participants also.
Okay. Yeah, I will convey your message to the current TAs. Yeah, so I've been getting question 9 a lot, like week 2 question
Yes,
9,
ma'am.
some 3 4. So I will jump to question 9. So which of the following are true about privacy? So we discussed about data privacy and ethics last week, so hopefully this should not be difficult. Yeah, so option A says it's someone's right to keep information about themselves correct. It is the basic human right. Privacy has social benefits, and person privacy can be exploited for sake of scientific advancement. So which of the following are true, you think? So what was the problem with this question?
Ma'am, here I had a question, ma'am. Like the first option, it is someone's right to keep information about themselves, correct?
That's correct.
It is somebody else's right. I was like little confused with that sentence. So it is not somebody else, it's person's right to keep information
To
about
keep
themselves.
about themselves correct. Yes, that is true. It is their right to keep their information correct.
So when
Secret.
it mentioned it is someone's right, I felt it was like somebody else's
Okay.
right to keep information about. So is
Okay,
that
okay.
little confusing, ma'am? That
Okay.
option A. So
Okay.
that is something which I didn't select, but it seems
But
that
it should be the
so
correct answer, huh?
okay.
So I think it was the choice
Ma'am,
of words to
regarding
follow.
the same question, ninth question, option D, it is person privacy can be exploited for the sake of scientific advancement. For the sake of scientific advancement, we can exploit it, isn't it, ma'am? So it should be, answer should be correct.
No,
But
ma'am.
this
I think
answer
you are
is
getting confused. So, have you all heard about recent data privacy data privacy law which is passed in European Union? So, have you read about it? Last month.
no, ma'am, no.
So, in last month, European Union's Cyber Security Council, they passed a law. They said that it's a basic right of it nowadays. Now the data privacy is equivalent to their basic rights, basic human rights. It is part of basic human right. So since almost all of us are using smartphones, where mostly even if it is iPhone or even if it is Android phone, we need to have our Gmail ID shared with them before we start using the device, right? location devices are used, where we are going, that movement is tracked. No, what we are shopping, what we are browsing through social media, that is recorded. So all our minute day-to-day activities are recorded. And if we use Alexa service or Google voice service, then what we are talking all the time is also tapped. So until we say hello Google, it is constantly hearing, so that it is capturing, it is knowing that when you are saying hello Google, right? So that means your voice data, your location data, your browsing data, your pictures, your SMSs, your bank account statements, your credited debited information which comes via SMS, that is getting read by uh, someone, by some server, like maybe Google server, or you are, even when you install a simple application, it will ask you to access your SMSs to verify your verification code. Why does it need access to all the SMSs to verify just one code? It will have access when it is asking your permission to access all the your entire SMS folder. That means it will go through all, it can go through all your SMSs at any time it wants, any app, the server which is behind that app. So this is very complicated process. I mean, when it is not about learning analytics or collecting data for a scientific study. It is about you are giving your data to any third party app which you are installing, irrespective of whether you are participating in any scientific study or not. But that server or that app will have access to all your information, and not necessarily that app will be using that data for scientific advancement or scientific survey or scientific research only, right? They will have access to your entire data, your email folder, your SMSs, your bank account statements, your photographs, your chats, everything. So what remains private to you is nothing. Where you are going, what you are doing, what orders you are placing on Swiggy, what food you are eating, what groceries you are buying, everything is recorded, or everything is accessed by other people also, by third party, which is not you or Google, by others also. And we don't have any control over that. So that's why European Union came to conclusion that no third party will have access to these informations and using this information. So but now all the apps, you have given your like access permission to all the apps, but now what to do? So they have imposed this ban to all these third parties or app developers, that you will not be using this data to create profiles, or to create, or you will not be using that data to target a particular person, or to blackmail a particular person, or to have a targeted marketing directed toward that particular person, or you will not be or you will not be misusing that information or that data to create emotional damage to that particular person. So I will suggest you please go and watch uh, this documentary on Netflix. It is available on Netflix. If it is available on YouTube or not, I'm not sure, but it is called Social Dilemma. It tells you exactly how just the social networking sites, how they are using our browsing data, our friends' data, to target the political content to us, political content as well as the marketing content to us. So the use of data is a mighty weapon. So there are two sayings which are related to data. So as a data scientist, we say that we believe in God, but you have to we just believe in numbers, you have to bring your own data. We trust in data. We don't trust in God, but we trust in data. That's what the data scientists say. For everything you need to have the support of data, right? But data is the mightiest weapon in today's era, because every step has the digital footprint. We are leaving the traces of our actions digitally, and that data can be recorded, can be logged, and can be misused. So what is the guarantee that the data which we are capturing will not be used by third party, and will not be exploited, and will not be used for targeting a particular person, and that will affect negatively on their emotional health or physical health? So that's why there are some restrictions which are ethical restrictions on the use of data and on the ways we are collecting the data. So that's why there are some points which we have to keep in mind, and we have to limit our data collection practices to ethical we have to set the ethical boundaries to our research. So these are like, so we can't exploit the data privacy. When somebody said, I don't want to share my data, you have to respect them, that you can't include their data into analysis, or you can't include their data in your study, right? And data privacy is basic human right, and it is their own right to protect their own data, to keep their own data secret, right? And even though it is for scientific advancement, we have no right to play god over them and use their data for our research. Or doesn't matter if it is going to lead to scientific advancement or not, but if they don't want their data to be used for scientific research, we can't use that for scientific research. So that's the bigger umbrella, and with that that thing in mind only, the European Union now has banned use of such digital traces of data to create the profiling, the user profiling, and to create and to have the targeted advertising. And that is one of the ethical practices, that is the ethics involved in data collection and usage of somebody's data, right? So now there are, so earlier ethics or data collection ethics were limited to medical data, where your blood samples were collected and you were given some medicines, medical trial, in that only such ethical practices were followed. But nowadays, since data has such a greater implication on our life, now data is also considered equally important as their blood, flesh, and other tangible things of a human being, other tangible properties of a human being. So that's why data privacy is of utmost important when we are collecting data from actual human being and not generating that data, right? So it is equivalent to such, the data is also very important and equivalent to basic human right, like food, shelter, and this thing, food, shelter, and air. The data, the humans data, their own data has also come into that same category. So it is very philosophically very deep, and we have to think ethically, or we have to think from all the directions, that what wrong can happen and how we can avoid that wrongdoing. So there are ways to avoid that wrongdoing, is to promise the learners that you will not be using their data, you will not be sharing their data with any third party, you will not be using their data for anything else other than the intended research. You will be anonymizing their data, you will be removing traces of their identity from that data. That is what is anonymizing that data means. So you have to make that disclosure before you collect that data. And even after that, if they don't want to share their data with you, you cannot forcefully collect the data. You cannot view the humans as the sources of data, and you can't exploit that in any how. That is absolutely unethical. Yeah. So this data privacy and data ethics is very philosophical topic. You have to read more about it to understand more about it, to understand the nuances and the implications of data sharing and using that data. When humans are involved, actual humans, your learners are actual humans, so they are generating that data, or they are creating that data for you. So it is like any physical byproduct for them, even though it is not tangible, or even though it is in electronic format, e-format, but it is now equally important, and it has now become the part of human rights to protect their privacy, or to have their digital privacy in place. So yeah, that is how I will conclude this. So even now, if there are some points to be discussed, we can discuss quickly. So I'm assuming there are no points to discuss because there are no questions in the chat. Yeah, so I will suggest you read more, watch small YouTube videos about data privacy, what and how our data is misused, and you have to be more careful about how you are collecting data and how you are using it for your analysis also. Because this can be a criminal offense, when you are exploiting, or if when you are doing something not ethically correct, then it could be a criminal offense also. So in European Union, it has become criminally offense to collect data which will be directly, for which you will be able to directly connect their data to the individual. So you can't do that. You have to take the anonymization to the next level, so that students' identity in under any circumstances cannot be revealed. So do read about that if you are more interested, or if you want to understand more about that. Huh?
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. About this question, which was this question about open-ended learning environment? What was
It is
the question?
week 2, question number 1, ma'am.
Question number 1. I will discuss that with the TAs and ask them to recheck it and post the explanation, if any, on the discussion forum. Yeah.
Question 1, ma'am, not question 2.
Not question 2. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I will convey this to the TAs and ask them to take the necessary actions. And I also conveyed to the TAs about the last week's missing presentations, and they said that they are taking care of it. So that will also would have been resolved, hopefully. So see you next week. Next week we will be solving week 4. So next week we'll be discussing week 4 last week, and if week 3 doubts, if any, like we discussed previous week's doubts in this week, so that we can do next week. Yeah. So see you next week. I'll be ending this meeting for now. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.